Yeah. Guard, they on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Move better with the latest fight. Gene's got the insight sight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move in every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard E3, and welcome to the Meaty Boyz podcast. And of course, I am joined by the greatest co-host of all time, Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm feeling blessed on a Monday night, getting ready to talk some wrestling.
Absolutely. Mo, you know what's crazy to think about? This is going to be our final Meaty Boyz podcast before our WrestleMania watch along. It feels like just yesterday we were getting ready for the Royal Rumble, but now we're already talking about WrestleMania? Like, that's absurd.
Time flies, that's for sure. And it's crazy to think about we're right around the corner from another WrestleMania. Look, I'm excited. I'm all up. I've got everything going on. I'm excited, I'm worried, I'm a little hesitant. I understand what they're doing with the storytelling and the different matchups and stuff, and I'm intrigued where they're going. But I would like to see some more younger stars involved in WrestleMania. The more this card fills out, the more it looks like mostly the old guard. I don't see a whole lot of young talent in there.
Well, don't worry, Mo. They announced on Raw not too long ago that LA Knight and the Usos have their match against the Vision and IShowSpeed at WrestleMania. So,
what?
Does that count as a young star in LA Knight, the Usos, or IShowSpeed?
Well, no, and IShowSpeed is not a wrestler at all, and he's going to get mauled. So clearly, the only thing that can make this match compelling, and I know, I don't know who it is. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's running down to the ring to help the Vision out, because IShowSpeed is going to be little to no help.
No, absolutely. You know what? I'll give Speed credit though. He's going all in with this whole run. He's been a lot of fun. Like he's been stupid entertaining. So I do think it's kind of unfortunate because there are some guys and ladies that just should be on the card that aren't. But at the same time, at least Speed's taking it seriously. He's been a lot of fun to watch on TV. So
Speed's entertaining. Please, anybody out there listening, don't get me wrong. He's incredibly entertaining. But when you put him in this type of match, I mean, it's hard not to assume he's the weakest link. Of course he's the weakest link. He's not even like a normal wrestler size. He's little compared to even the smallest wrestler. So while he's very athletic, which is clear, and I'm sure he can learn a few moves here and there. If no one runs down to the ring for the Vision, nobody will be more stunned than me.
No, absolutely. Of course, we had CM Punk start out Raw too, and he absolutely dropped maybe the promo of the year. And he pretty much gave a quick crash course on how to get people excited for WrestleMania. He called out everybody from TKO to Pat McAfee to Roman Reigns, even reference Vince McMahon. It was quite the great start to our Monday Night Raw tonight. Not gonna lie, absolutely love to see that.
Now, look, there's no doubt that CM Punk is one of the gifted performers when it comes to hopping on the mic. So if he's doing his thing to drum up WrestleMania, I'm here for it as a fan. I haven't watched Raw yet. I'll probably watch the rematch, the remix later on. But yeah, I look. CM Punk is an absolute beast on the mic. That is not breaking news. So I definitely want to check that out.
Now, definitely something that I'm sure you did see, Mo. This past Friday, for weeks, we've been getting teased. Who's the guy on the phone with Randy Orton? Who's the guy on the phone with Randy Orton? It turns out wrestling has more than one royal family. It's apparently Pat McAfee who is on the phone with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
This I want to get your opinions on this one, Mo, because I don't know. This feels like a swerve for the sake of a swerve, which those kinds of swerves are the kind of worst thing to do. But what are your whole fiasco?
I feel like you read my mind. You were building this thing up with Randy Orton and who he's on the phone with, and then Friday night, Pat McAfee shows up, gets into the ring, and obviously kicks Cody where and proceeds to attack him. And yeah, I think that's the problem. My natural instinct was this seems to be a swerve for the sake of a swerve and not a really well thought out. This is what we'll do, and this is where we'll take it, and this is where the story's gonna. It doesn't seem real thought out, and so because I feel like the setup is it's really going to be Randy Orton and McAfee versus Cody Rhodes, and somehow, some way, I guess McAfee will cost Cody Rhodes the match. I don't know. I like you said. I just think they could have done better. They could have picked another more credible person to be Randy Orton's partner or acolyte, whatever you want to call it. Pat McAfee, that's just, I don't know. That just rings kind of hollow.
Especially since there's such like a long list of like actual wrestlers and talent managers that have interacted with both Cody and Randy. This is like they've been linked at the hip almost since 2008 when Legacy formed.
Correct.
So like there's a million ways you could have gone with it, and it might have not been as, quote unquote exciting, but it would have just made more sense if you're in St. Louis. Maybe you can bring out see if Cowboy Bob will record a promo for you. Being the guy on the phone, I'm not sure what kind of shape he's in nowadays, but say it could have been Triple H. He's right in the back with history with both of them. Obviously people are talking about The Rock, and I don't think The Rock is going to touch WrestleMania unless he can commit to it after last year's whole stunt. But
right,
there's just a lot of guys that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, even
than Pat.
Even a veteran, who they teased his comeback, but it hasn't happened to this point. But Chris Jericho would have made better sense. You know what I mean? Like, I would have, that would have interested me. That would have piqued my interest because it would be Chris Jericho. Pat Riley, I feel like they were coming up with ideas, and he was like the fifth idea, and they were like, "Let's go with that," and they went with
it. The report on Pat McAfee too is really funny, Mo, because they go. Apparently, they asked Pat to do this. Pat said no, he doesn't want to do it, and then they eventually figured out a monetary agreement to get him to come in and do this. But I don't know, man. If you get asked to do an angle and the dude saying, "Yeah, no, this probably isn't a good idea," you should probably listen to the dude, and not just throw extra bags of money at him. It like I said, I respect. I think celebrities do have a place at WrestleMania. They established that like right away. In the first WrestleMania, bringing in Mr. T earlier on, they brought in people like Cyndi Lauper.
Agreed.
I do think celebrities have a role. Can we just stop including them in the main events? It's almost like they're trying to chase that high from Mike Tyson being inserted into Austin and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I never forget that.
Right. It's like they have to kind of fill out a certain part, though, certain look to play the part. Like, you can't just cast anybody in there. Like, Austin, it made sense in 98. I mean, Tyson, it made sense in 98 because who's going to mess with Mike Tyson? When I look at, like, WrestleMania 41, it didn't make sense because you're like, why do I care about, Travis Scott? He doesn't pose a threat to either of these guys.
Right.
This year, it's like Cody and Randy have such a long history together that it's like, I don't need Jelly Roll to tell this story. And then they RKO'd him. I'm like, cool, we get back to the Cody and Randy stuff. And now they had Pat McAfee. I'm like, I don't need Pat McAfee either to tell this story. So now I'm skeptical. I'm not going to lie, Mo. I'm so skeptical about this match because I feel like they're going to big brain this one too hard. We're going to get like a Jelly Roll heel turn, and we're going to get a Jelly Roll Pat McAfee and Randy Orton faction or something.
Wait a minute.
At WrestleMania.
Not Jelly Roll and McAfee. All due respect to both of them, I don't want to see that. But I'm only laughing because I think you're right, and that's what frightens me. I think you're spot on. It's almost like you've read the playbook. It's how this plays out. It's gonna look like Jelly Roll's coming to the rescue, and then Jelly Roll is gonna get the weird look like The Rock gave to Cena, and suddenly Jelly Roll is gonna be down with Orton and Pat McAfee, and they're gonna form this bizarre function, if you will, faction, and that's how they're going to keep the belt. Look, Cody is a big enough star that he certainly can lose the belt and still be a huge star. That's not the thing. But I don't know. You have to tell a convincing story that fans can take in and go, that makes sense. I can see that you know what I mean? It has to at least feel organic, even if it isn't organic. The magic of wrestling is when they get the storytelling right, not just with the story or the idea, but with the two combatants and their skill sets blend well together and their mic skills bounce off each other. It just all comes together. You could have just focused on Randy and Cody and how Randy turned on him, and the animosity that's built between them seems good enough on its face that you didn't need Jelly Roll, that you didn't need Pat McAfee. I actually think they're doing too much. I think the two names alone, Orton and Rhodes, I think they can carry this by themselves.
And that's the thing, and that's the frustrating part. It's like you had this wide open layup to pretty much ice the game. Like Cody, Randy, easiest story to tell. You could just keep it basic, like basic back and forth promo exchange about respect and championships or something until WrestleMania. Or whatever. There's a million ways you could have done it, but instead you blew the layup, you gave up a 3 on the other end, and now momentum's going the other way. And now you got to figure out how to recapture it.
Yeah.
It's just really unfortunate. And apparently, I can't even blame Triple H for it because apparently this was a TKO decision by Ari Emanuel, who I believe is also Pat McAfee's agent.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they found a way to get McAfee into this angle, and it sounds like Triple H and company weren't happy about it because it wasn't their call, which led to a improv Cody Rhodes shoot promo at the end of the show, which at that point I'm just dumbfounded, like, what is happening? So it like the whole like Cody coming back out to kind of cut his shoot was really weird. Like, it was a fine message, but I'm like, I don't even know what's going on in this story anymore. I'm just confused.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to feel, or at least that's the way a lot of fans feel with what they're doing with this. Yeah, I think TKOs they've inserted their power more, and look, I don't know if the rumors are true. There are rumors that TKO is kind of like flexing and that they were possibly looking to move on from Triple H, which I won't say it's impossible because it's about business, but who are you going to replace him with? It's got to be a wrestling guy. And I don't even think Hunter's done a bad job. I don't necessarily care for all the storylines leading up to WrestleMania, but I think that he's actually done a pretty good job for the most part. You can, like you said, you can big brain really simple ideas and mess up something that's simple. I think Cody and Randy by themselves make for a compelling story, especially like you said, when you look at their histories, their fathers, all that kind of stuff. That alone is gold. I don't know why you have to insert McAfee into that.
Yeah, well, apparently, they see a lot of Pat. Like I said, it's funny because I love Pat McAfee. He took when I went to WrestleMania 40, he took time after his live podcast episode to go around take pictures of everyone. So I do have a picture of me and Pat McAfee.
I remember that. I've seen it.
Love that guy. But yeah, like I said, let's pick and choose our celebrity usage better.
Maybe say it that way. It isn't that I don't think Pat McAfee's entertaining or compelling, because he is. I just don't necessarily think they needed to insert him into this particular feud, if you will. You could have done other things. And like you said, think about all the performers who are better performers and real performers when it comes to wrestling that won't be part of WrestleMania, but Pat McAfee will be at WrestleMania. A couple other celebrities might be at WrestleMania. I'm just saying, celebrities have value. They do. We know this, but it's also valuable, at least in my opinion, for the health of your company, that you highlight some of your young up and coming stars, be it men or women.
Well, hey, you know what? At least they finally got Dom on the card. They announced Dom versus Finn today, so it's so weird they took the IC title off of Dom and then did this. I'm like, dude, this would have been a perfect feud for the IC title, but like I like Penta, but I feel like they should have kept the title on Dom for sure. And
I do too. It's kind of weird because with the belt around Penta's waist, it just doesn't have the same power about it. It's not a knock on Penta because I think he's entertaining and a really good performer. But I gotta admit, I think Dom is one of those kind of dudes that you love to hate him when he's walking around with gold around his waist. So I'm kind of shocked that they didn't turn the IC title into like a triple threat match.
Right. Yeah. I thought that's what they were going. I thought it was going to be Dom versus Finn versus JD for the IC title.
Yes, 100%. That's where I thought they were going to go, and they fooled me again. Maybe because we were thinking simple, and they're like, "No, we're going to throw them a curveball. They won't see this coming." But that made sense. IC Championship, triple threat: JD, Finn, and Dom. I want that, and of course, in the end, if I'm honest, I want Dom to come out with the belt again because Dom is a perfect heel. He just is.
No, absolutely. Say, hey, you know what? I'm excited to see. Gunther versus Seth. I get why they did that. I think it makes sense. Make the best out of a bad situation. You want to hold off on Breaker, Seth, but you want Seth to do something at WrestleMania? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's run Gunther and Seth. At least WrestleMania is next week. They don't got time to put a celebrity in the middle of that too.
Right. That's a great point.
We're gonna get like Tom Brady in Gunther's corner or something.
Oh my god!
We don't hurry up.
You know what they're gonna do? They're bringing our guy back. You watch. Travis Scott's coming back again. Another one of the longest entrants ever.
Say he'll just be entering the entire. By the time he gets to the ring, the match is over. Everybody left already.
Right. I can see that happening. Yeah, look, I'm excited. I don't know why they didn't do a triple threat for the IC with those guys. That is a storyline that makes sense, especially since everything the Judgment Day has gone through and currently going through with Finn. And I don't know why that to me was a layup, and they decided to just whiff on that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned Chris Jericho's name. He made his big return on AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. Like I said, loved his. He looks to be in great shape. And you know what? I think how he did was perfect. He took a nice break. I think everybody kind of needed a break from Jericho when he left, and he's been gone for so long. And he came back out to Judas. The crowd went pretty wild for that. So I'll be excited to see what's next for Chris Jericho and AEW.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited to see what happens with him. What's my guy's name? Will Ospreay. I love Will Ospreay. Swerve. They're AEW has a really powerful roster in their own right, and I think their women's division is constantly improving. I think it's gotten so much better over time. I don't think they have the wealth of talent that WWE has, but I think they've built a pretty strong stable in terms of their female wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you excited for Dynasty? That's this Sunday. We got the main event of Kenny Omega versus MJF.
Yes,
That's going to be so much fun.
I'm a big Kenny Omega fan, but look, MJF right now, he's the dude that everybody loves to hate. He just gets it done. He just finds a way. He right now, he's the man. He is the man. I think this is good. That match. Whew, I think that match is going to be one of the best matches of the year. And I couldn't call it because I literally think it could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Other matches we have right now on the undercard, we got Thekla. Say we got Thekla versus Jamie Hayter for the women's world title. Andrade El Idolo versus Darby Allin. We got FTR versus Cope and Cage, and of course, I think this might be the best match of the night outside of MJF Omega. Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay for the Continental Championship. So, like I said, this undercard is starting to get pretty loaded too. Might have to tune in on Sunday for that.
Mox is going to have to step his game up because Will Ospreay is no joke. That's going to be a banger. I think that's going to be a banger.
No, absolutely. I'd say it'll give us something to talk about next week for sure. I know, like I said, next week we're not going to be having a show on Monday, but we'll be here all weekend because obviously WrestleMania. So they actually are, you know what they're doing this year, Mo? They're announcing which matches are going to be on night 1 and which matches are going to be on night 2 in advance, which
right. That's good.
Hey, them doing it like a week early is earlier than they normally do it. We normally don't even figure it out till we get like the day of. It's like, here are your matches for today.
Yeah, I like that they're doing it this way, though. That's good. You know ahead of time what to expect.
Yeah, and honestly, I really hope that the Cody and Randy, match delivers. I was already worried about that. Now the story's all jumbled, and now I'm kind of low-key praying that there's a different... I'm almost kind of hoping that there's a different main event.
You are either a different main event or a surprise that we don't see coming. A name, I don't know, a name. It could be a name from the past or somebody fairly new. I love surprises, especially when they're good surprises, when they're done right. And I joke about run-ins, but I don't mind run-ins if they're done well. You know what I mean? It's really all about timing and execution. If they're done right, I love it. What Naomi did when she did her run because she had, you know what I mean? Like that was perfect timing, but that's knowing the moment, seizing the moment, the timing and that was perfection.
No.
So I'm not opposed to that.
No, absolutely, Mo. Why don't we go through the WrestleMania card real quick and we'll pick some winners for next week.
Let's do it.
We got Finn and Dom. Who do you got?
It's interesting. I feel like with no belt on the line, I think Finn's gonna win.
Yeah, it really feels like that would make sense here. Give Finn his big WrestleMania win and let him get
Right.
some payback on the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
I agree. I actually think Finn wins this one since if they decide to all of a sudden say that the AAA title's on the line, then yeah, Dom's winning that. But
For real.
no stakes match, yeah, you know what? Give me Finn.
Yeah. Agreed.
Seth versus Gunther.
So 9 times out of 10, I would tell you that Seth's going to win. He's the bigger star. Gunther's a huge star, but Seth's a bigger star. And I know Seth is putting so many people over. What I'm struggling with is because they've built Gunther up as the legend killer, that whole reputation he has now. But there's not a belt on the line. If you were saying who had more momentum between the two stars, you would say Gunther. He's taken out 3 huge names, and Seth has kind of been on the shelf. But if I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were a betting man, now I put money on this, I would take Seth Rollins.
Hey, that's fair. I'm gonna go with Gunther on this one. I just feel like that it's gonna be one of those things that Seth will come close and almost put him away, and then I feel like we get the big like Braun Breaker return and he just breaks him in half with a spear.
Well, if that happens, that's different. So look, if there's not gonna be a run-in, I think Steph's gonna win. But if you're gonna say there's a potential for some shenanigans, yeah, I even like the way you said it. That Breaker does that thing where he builds up about, I don't know, 40 miles an hour and just rips through your body. I can see Breaker doing that, tossing Steph back in the ring, and Gunther slapping the sleeper on him and ending it. You should write for WWE because I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Hey, you know what? It'd be a dream job. I'd love to do some creative. How about Brock versus Oba? We know who should win.
Oba should win because they should put him over. It doesn't do anything for Brock at all, right? We would agree. It doesn't. Whatever Brock is, his legend, his aura, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't do anything for him. But it would be like a rocket ship strapped to Oba's back to knock off the monster this early into your career. I think Oba should win. I hope they do the right thing and Oba wins. And yet, because they're kind of rigid in what they do, I think that Oba's going to carry the match, but Brock's going to win the match.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Oba just because I think I'm trying to will it into existence.
I hope you're right.
It's one of those things where, yeah, it doesn't do anything. And I don't want to hear the whole, got to build up Brock. Like, build him up for what? Like,
Exactly.
The man's like 2 matches from retirement. Like, we know who Brock Lesnar is. Like, I don't need to have him start squashing people to remember how, who he is. So, like I said, let's just get him, losing to Oba, maybe put somebody else over in Minnesota, then he can go right off into the Hall of Fame, right off into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Sure he can. And let's be honest. In a perfect world, he loses to Oba. Brock doesn't do a lot of like Monday Night Raw stuff. So he'll probably make an appearance here and there, and then he's probably got a couple of more pay-per-views. But eventually, I would assume, Brett, at some point, we're going to get Brock versus Gunther, right? You know what I mean? Because Gunther will be the one to show him the door.
Absolutely. I would say we got a fatal 4-way match for the women's tag titles. We got Irresistible Forces versus the Bella Twins versus Charlotte and Alexa versus Bayley and Lyra. This just seems like an easy way to get the tag titles on the Bellas. I don't know if you agree with that, Mo, but I feel like this is going to be the Bellas.
Look, you know wrestling inside and out as well or better than I do. I think you're right. As soon as they made this announcement, I was like, the Bellas are going to win the belts. I think the Bellas are going to win the belts. Now the irresistible force will probably dominate 70-80% of the match, but the Bellas in the end are going to walk out the tag team champions. Now they're not. I don't think they're going to have a long run, but I do think they win that match.
And the moment that happens is when I start pushing my, let's say, my Lash Legend United States Women's Championship agendas. But
Ooh, I like that. And look, to me, if I'm in that creative team, I think the irresistible. First of all, I don't like the name because I think they should have come up with a better name for them. I think that's kind of a dumb name. But that being said, I think when you look at them, I think they should have a long run because Lash, like obviously Nia's powerful, but Lash isn't just powerful. Lash is an athlete. Like she's an athlete. She's got some athleticism. To me, they'd be hard to beat. Like they should have like a long run. And yet my gut instinct tells me that there's no way they bring the Bellas both back together and them not at least win the gold. I don't care if they hold it for a week or for a month. I think they do win.
yeah, and hey, you know what I'm curious about in this match? Will Charlotte and Nia get along? Anytime they wrestle, there's always like an awkward moment where they start shooting on each other, or it just doesn't come off right and everything just looks off. Like those two just don't have great chemistry, and it just shows. So this match should be fun.
I think I will give you that. I think it's going to be an entertaining four-way tag team match. I think the team that I know that's not going to win, I don't want to be a spoiler to people, but Bailey's not winning. I can tell you not winning. Bailey and Lyra aren't winning. Charlotte's not winning. They're not winning. And I love Alexa. I do. Love Alexa and Charlotte, and they've had a good tag team run. This to me says everything screams the Bellas walk out of WrestleMania, the champion, which is great, by the way. I don't have a problem with it because they would be good transitional champions. Like they'll hold the belts for a month or two. And I'm trying to think the next team that comes up, maybe it'll be the irresistible force that goes upside their head and wins it again. But I do think it's going to be an entertaining match.
Hey, the one I'm looking forward to, Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. Look, 40,000 people chanting "Whoop that Trick" is going to be awesome.
I think so. I like that. So answer me this, because you have a way of seeing ahead of things instead of being short-sighted. What is going on with how they're doing Sammy and Mello and those interactions? Like, so he won the one time, obviously, because Trick Williams helped him. Let's be real. And he took the belt. And then so Mello talked him into giving him another championship match. And then they had the match. And obviously the referee's checking on Mello, and Sammy didn't waste any time. He just cracked him. And he won again. And I actually thought they were going to turn that into a triple threat match. I really did.
They still might. Like, I feel like that makes the most sense at this point. Say to give Mello and Trick, both a WrestleMania match. I would love it for it to be a triple threat match.
Right. And here's the thing about Mello or Trick, both young, up and coming. Mello doesn't have to win for it to elevate his career. Same for Trick. I think one of them would win, but if they just put on a great show, if they're just entertaining and the fans can see them and what they could be, I think that helps them. Sammy's already an established star and he's done well. But I think Sammy's one of those guys that he does have he has a ceiling on how high he can go. I think that if it's a triple threat match, the guy that I wouldn't expect to win would be Sammy. But if it's just going to be Trick and Sammy, I don't think it's a lock that Trick Williams wins.
The only reason I could think you'd want to keep them separated is if you really want to make that first one-on-one match special.
Yes.
So maybe instead of doing a triple threat, maybe they're saving Mello versus Trick for like a United States Championship match at SummerSlam or maybe next year's WrestleMania.
You know what? I think you just called it. If it's not going to be a triple threat, How about this? How about Melo comes down to the ring, he interferes, and Melo costs Sammy the belt at WrestleMania.
I think that would work, and then you get like the nice little feud between Sammy and Mello for a little bit longer. And
Right. And then there'll be eventually a build up to, I guess, Mello trying to take on Trick. But yeah, because I think you can extend the Sammy Mello feud, which, by the way, those matches have been entertaining matches. I've loved them. There's so much talent on that roster. Like, I want to see Mello and I want to see Trick. I want to see Dragunov. I want to see all those dudes. But there's not enough matches for all of them.
Hey, how about we got AJ versus Becky? I'd say this one could go either way, honestly.
I agree. I think no question it's going to be a banger. But I'm going to go, if I had to choose this time around, I'm going with Big Mac Bex. I think Bex wins this. I don't think she wins it clean, but that's not the point. The point is who wins. And I'm saying Becky Lynch, come high or hell water, is going to win. I think she walks out with the belt again.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
And by the way, it's not because I want that to be, because I love AJ Lee. She can keep the belt as long as she wants. But my gut instinct is that's going to be the result.
Hey, you know what? Becky's pulling out all the stops. Before Raw, she tried to get Danhausen to curse AJ to give her an advantage, but Danhausen is a big fanhausen of AJ Lee, so he did not want to do that.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Good for him.
Oh yeah, but hey, you know what? He did say he would curse Adam Pearce and Jessica Carr for Becky. It would just cost her a couple hundred human monies, so
I got no problem with that.
It truly was a great little 2-minute segment that they dropped, that Becky Lynch dropped on Twitter. It was great.
I dig that. But I do think it's going to be an entertaining match. And the only reason I think that, and you probably think it too, that AJ gives up the belt is because I think AJ enjoys being a part-time performer. And you know what I mean? I don't think she's cut out for the grind of 200 or whatever. That's not where AJ's at in her life. I think she wants to kind of be able to come and go at different, and I respect that. Look, as a fan of hers, if she's going to show up for some pay-per-views here and there or a couple of Raws, that's enough for me. I'll take whatever I can get because I'm a huge fan. And look, Becky is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, so there's no shame in losing to Becky Lynch.
No, absolutely. We got the IC title defended in a ladder match. Penta versus Javon Evans versus Rusev versus Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough. You know what?
You know who's not going to win the match? Rusev.
Or JD McDonough.
Or JD McDonough, right. Or JD McDonough. But I'm not going to write off Javon Evans because it's weird because like Mello, like Trick, like Oba, Javon's right there, and he's so explosive and athletic that I feel like in a ladder match, he's going to be Penta's biggest threat. I'm not guaranteeing Javon wins because when you have that many people involved, anything can go wrong. But if I'm picking blindly, I'm gonna pick Javon Evans.
It's funny because I was gonna go Penta, but honestly, the more I think about it, this seems like the perfect match where they will absolutely just swerve us and throw us off guard. So I feel like I'm gonna pick Penta and I'm gonna stick with Penta, but at the same time, knowing WWE Day of, it's gonna be like, yeah, you know what? Just to say we told you so, Dragon Lee's your new Intercontinental Championship, and I'll just be like, you know what? Sure, why not?
I think you're right, partner. I think they might throw us a curveball. Maybe Rusev wins, and here's why I say Rusev wins, or why he could win rather. If Rusev wins, and he becomes the champ, isn't there a good chance that Rusev would defend the belt against Oba? I'm just saying. Oba could be wearing that belt in no time. And I think if Oba becomes the United States champion, I think Oba's going to be that champion for a minute. I don't think Oba's going to have a short run.
No, absolutely. It's a Oba just holds it into next WrestleMania, and hey, just go the Ultimate Warrior approach with him. Just have his first world title match be a match for the world title and Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Say, how about the last four? Of course, we got the title matches. We got Jade and Rhea. Well, this is another feud that I have no clue who's booking this, but I'm not a fan. And it's not because I don't know, Mo. It's weird. I want to be a fan, but it's hard because they keep booking these two in promo battles. But the problem is they have as much like chemistry as me and this wall in front of me talking on the microphone. And then they randomly decided that we're going to throw Meechin and BFAB into the mix. And I'm like, what? Jade was just beefing with both of these ladies like a week ago. Like, they're just kind of all over the place, and I feel like they're trying to correct it by making it more action and adding an Io Sky, but like
make it make sense, partner. Make it make sense.
I wish I could, but I don't think I can half the time.
Let me ask you this. This is what I see. I see Triple H and creative looking at the matchup and saying Rhea can carry her butt so far. And they're still saying that Jade's probably still not quite. And I actually agree with this. I don't think she's that polished and in-ring performer. And even if you play to her strengths, because she's obviously a power wrestler, because she's a heel, you would think when you're a heel, you got a bigger bag because you're a heel. They did it again. They did the same thing they did with Orton and Cody. They're doing with this. How do you make mention in BFAB her minions when she was just beating the hell out of both of them and they were complaining about her? And they turn around a couple of weeks later and are like, now we ride with Jay. And their explanation is, well, at least with Jade, you get what you see. Like, what the hell does that mean? She beat you both up. She's not your friend. And Setley, that to me, forming that faction, that actually, to me, in my opinion, made Jade look weaker. The setup, I feel like the setup is they're going to go into the match. Rhea's going to be winning. One of them's going to interfere. Jay's going to get the advantage, maybe beat Rhea down 80% of the match, but at some point they'll make a mistake. I think the bottom line is Rhea will walk out of WrestleMania the women's champion, and they will have made Jade look a lot weaker. Like you have minions and flunkies, and you still lost the belt. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. And the thing they did just recently where they were jumping Rhea again, and like you said, Io to the rescue. Like, you know what I mean? Let's throw somebody else. So you know what's going to happen, I guess, this coming Friday. Io's going to come to the rescue, but something's going to happen, and they're going to beat Io up, and then Rhea's going to go, this match is for Io. Like, I just see where this is going, and I'm like, you don't have to go through all that trouble. Rhea Ripley's one of the biggest stars in the entire company. If she wants the belt, she'll be wearing the belt. I just wish they would have done this story better. Like the way they're doing this is almost like Jade's leaving WWE, and I know she's not, but that is how they're doing it. If Jade Cargill doesn't have a belt and she's not the champ, and she's just walking around, being a power wrestler, but not having any accolade. What is she? What is she? I would be really surprised if Jade walks out with the belt.
I think I think you kind of touched on the reason why I'm gonna pick Jade to walk out with the belt, though, because if she can't beat Rhea with Meechin and BFAB beating her up and helping her, I feel like that does a lot of damage to Jade if she can't beat Rhea with a 3-on-1 advantage.
Right.
I feel like they put her in a position where she has to win. Because, what are the optics if she can't win when she has even if Io does help, you still have a one-man power play. Agreed. Exactly what does she gain by losing the match? I think you should just build it as two two powerhouses beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Like, you know, have matches, one up each other, have a big brawl, kind of like in the shades of, you know, Cena and Lesnar's brawl, or, you know, Taker and Lesnar. Like, I feel like you just go like a pure physical route with this feud, and it would have made a lot more sense than promo battles, and now we're adding like 3 different people into the mix. Like, once again, they just big brained this whole thing a little too much, and now they put Jade in a position where she really can't afford to lose.
And maybe you're right if coming from that standpoint, and I think you have a point. What I don't understand is that I think you make a point that Jade losing the belt kind of kills her credibility going forward. Like, you've got minions and you still lost to Rhea, but I guess what I'm thinking is, let's say Jade wins the match. If she wins the match, and obviously there'll be some form of interference, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't this set up like an extended feud with her and Rhea, which, by the way, could be a good thing, right? Because maybe at the next big pay-per-view, Rhea takes the belt then, right? Because I think you could extend their feud a little while longer, because in the big picture, they're still waiting for Bianca Belair to get back, right? They're still waiting for Naomi to come back from, obviously, maternity leave. Don't forget Stephanie Vicur is still out there, and so I'm just wondering, like, Jade is such a huge figure. We already know how big a star Rhea is. Like, with or without the belt, Rhea's a huge star. You make a fair point to why Jade should win. Jade kind of needs the belt where Rhea doesn't. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe Jade holds on to the belt, and she holds on to it for maybe a couple of more pay-per-views until she gives it up, maybe in the summer or SummerSlam or something like that. We'll see. But it's an interesting thing, because Rhea's gone a long time without wearing the belt. But I guess what I'm asking you is this: if Jade wins, do you think she has a long run as champion, or does it end sooner than later?
I think it's end sooner rather than later. I almost feels like you can even end it at Backlash to help protect Jade more. And I think the reason why I protect her is then you can kind of maybe run a storyline where, all right, you know, Rhea wants, you know, a rematch, but she knows she needs more backup, and then she can find somebody else and truly even the odds. And then I think you could, you know, do something then that doesn't really, you know, hurt Jade too much. But no, I don't think it lasts long. I just feel like at this current point in time in the story, Jade really can't be affording to lose with the 3v2 advantage. But hey, Backlash in, you know, Tampa, Florida, yeah, have at it. Why not?
You know, you just gave me a good idea, and maybe at some point creative will catch up. Jade doesn't need B-Fab and Mention. You know what she needs? She needs Lash Legend. I think I like Lash and Jade together better than Lash and Nia together. I get what Lash would mean by her, because basically Lash is mentioned and you know what I mean, and BFAB put together. You know what I mean? Like, that's how good Lash would be. But I think Lash, you remember how Kevin Nash was like Shawn Michaels' bodyguard? He had his back.
Yeah.
I kind of feel if she's going to continue to be a heel, talking about Jade, then I think I could see Lash Legend kind of in that Kevin Nash role.
Nah, absolutely. Got 3 more matches and 3 more minutes. So Stephanie versus Liv. Who do you think wins that one?
I think Stephanie puts on a terrific show. I think that match is going to be one of the best matches of the weekend. And yet, I think Liv comes out the world champ.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I like Liv in that one. We got Cody versus Randy. Anything that doesn't have Randy winning here, I feel like would be kind of disappointing, not gonna lie.
Partner, I echo your sentiments. I'm gonna keep it real simple. I'm a fan of both performers, but it's getting to the point where people are kind of getting sick of Cody the way they got sick of Charlotte. So you can make it a great match and a banger match. I don't see Cody winning.
You know what the funny part about the matches? Unless you're really a fan of super slow and methodical matches, I don't really think it's going to be all that much of a, barn burner by a lot of people's standards. I think this match, if you're looking for expectations, I think it's going to be very similar to Cody versus Cena from WrestleMania last year, pre-Travis Scott interference. Just very slow and methodical. So, not bad by any stretch of the word, but if people are expecting like a 5-star classic, I think that will leave them a little disappointed.
That's fair. That's fair. And look, that is asking a lot. Especially when you look at how Randy is. This version of Randy Orton really is a slow, methodical wrestler that kind of like grounds and pounds his opponents down. So if you're looking for a lot of high impact moves, I don't think you're going to see a lot of those. So I agree.
And then, of course, Punk Roman Reigns. Mo, who do you got?
This one is so tough. It really is. I've been going back and forth, and I feel like I go back and forth every time they cut a promo. You know what I mean? But I'm going to put myself out on Front Street, and maybe I'm alone on this. I think this match is going to be a banger. I'm saying CM Punk finds a way to retain. I am. I think it's too obvious for people to think the Tribal Chief is going to have his moment. And I think he will at some point, but not at WrestleMania. CM Punk, this will be his WrestleMania moment. This will be it. I think CM Punk wins a great match over Roman Reigns. And I think there will be some interference, and I still think CM Punk wins.
Yeah, and I think that's the right call at this point. Punk's on a pretty great reign with the title. And I say, let's just keep a good thing going, and let's keep the title on TV. So we know Roman ain't staying, after for too long. I'm sure he's taking another sabbatical. So at this point, I would just prefer to keep the title away from him unless he's really dedicated to showing up more often than he does.
Right. And we're not hating on Roman Reigns, but you bring up a great point. CM Punk, as a heavyweight champion, has been an active and fighting champ. And I'm not saying Roman doesn't fight, but let's be honest, Roman's not fighting on Raw. He ain't fighting on SmackDown. Roman's only showing up for pay-per-views. So I kind of want CM Punk to continue his run a little while longer.
Absolutely. And that being said, that is all we have for you today. Mo, anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
No, thank you guys so much for joining us on a Monday night, talking some wrestling, talking some WrestleMania, giving our picks and our opinions. Make sure you guys join us for WrestleMania watch along.
Absolutely. And like I said, you can also check us out Thursday for the And One podcast. We're going to keep talking about some more prospects in the prospect tournament. Plus, of course, Angel Reese trade. We got to talk about that. We got some awards that are going to come right down to the wire. So it's going to be a lot of fun on Thursday. That being said, I don't want to get beat up by Will next time I see him. So I got to get out of here before the sports report, guys. We thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy the rest of your night.